what's going to make people think about our band or my songs or whatever it is for longer than the summer. You know, that's kind of what you should think if you're a musician.
Right.
How can this song last another lifetime, not just another like radio cycle? How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine.
So, welcome back to Philadelphia.
Thank you. I was here last weekend, actually.
Yeah, for the block party.
The block party, yeah.
Yeah, and then you were here recently for the DNC as well, right?
Yeah, I've been here 3 times in the last 6 weeks.
What brought you to Philadelphia in the first place?
I guess it's kind of sad to say this, but I couldn't afford to go to New York.
Mm-hmm.
So like I really wanted to leave Florida. That's where I started. That's where I came from. My family's from there, and I couldn't afford to go to New York I wanted to do music or art or film or something creative, and in fact I couldn't afford to go to college right away. I went to University of Central Florida,
right,
which is almost free if you're from Florida. And after 2 years, I just decided I wanted to pursue music somehow,
mm-hmm.
and I got accepted to Temple, and so everybody who is a Temple grad. Yeah. So
there you go. Could have gone anywhere.
I don't think I could have gone anywhere, but I knew Temple had a good film school, and especially the documentary program there at Annenberg Hall in the communications department. And I wanted to make documentary film actually when I first.
So that was the
there.
ambition.
That was the original ambition.
Like
yeah.
More. So when you were in Florida, were you into DJ culture?
I was. I mean, everybody is sort of associated with DJ culture in Florida. DJs are you can make a living as a DJ in Florida. There's never any famous ones, but you know, when I grew up on the radio, there was DJ Laz and Magic Mike and Miami Bass, and everybody seemed to be. Even DJ Khaled was in Orlando when he first started.
Even then, yeah.
Yeah, he was like had a show on the radio called The Arab Invasion. I remember it was just, which wouldn't work now, but it was like his first radio show.
The Arab Invasion.
Yeah,
really,
really. It was, but anybody could DJ, and you know, and so many people DJs actually moved to Florida as they got older from Philadelphia and New Jersey, and so I collected a lot of music in Florida.
Because you had the whole culture was in place there.
Yeah.
Before EDM culture.
Exactly.
happened.
Oh, we had like raves and rave music and dance music, and especially Miami Bass, and was always in Orlando. And my first raves, you know, things like that would happen in Florida. You know, you just go in your baggy jeans into like a field or a park with like mud and just listen to a DJ and breakbeat DJs and stuff. So I went to parties when I was like 14, 15, but I didn't think it was weird. You know, even when I moved to Philly, there wasn't really a dance culture.
Right.
That happened like probably 5-6 years after I was here.
Right, because there's a naturalness to that, both in Miami and Orlando.
Yeah.
Right.
Like even bands like, you know, Portishead was a band that I saw live in Orlando. They only toured like 4 cities in America on their first album, and one was Orlando. It was like Orlando, New York, Chicago, and LA. I think I couldn't have done music any other way but coming to Philadelphia, because Philadelphia is very, very, very nice to artists and young people. I'm not on purpose, but it's just it's friendly for.
But why? Because it's cheap.
It's cheap. It's very cheap, and because so many artists did come here. A lot of kids, especially from Space 1026, came from RISD, from Rhode Island, and they all came here and started a small art scene. They kind of stuck out here, and they're still there. They developed a really cool underground scene, but they made it very friendly for other people to come here and start things, you know, especially UA Arts and all the different scenes here. And it's, you know, all the way from, we used to do parties at 5th and Cecil B. Moore, that warehouse there, and all these kids could just rent a warehouse space and create, you know, their whole space into art. And there's so many young kids that can do that. And in New York, you can do that as well, but it's you have to have like a vitamin water sponsorship or something. You can't do it on your own. But here you could, and you can make your dreams come true. Even if you know, it's hard to accelerate to a national level, but you can kind of cut your teeth here and do that here. And I'm lucky I was here, because if I went to New York, I probably would have cowered back to Florida or ran out of money, or, you know, probably got into trouble. But here I was able to like stick it out, and so many people I met that helped me along the way, like Joe and some of the teachers in Temple and Low Budget. You know, so many people to believed in me and helped me do what I did here. So it really made it possible.
Right. You get up on your feet.
And also the kid, Sean Agnew, Dave Pianka, who was kind of like my nemesis in a little bit, but you know, he's still doing. He still like,
mocks you on Twitter.
He still makes fun of me. I was DJ with him last weekend. He hated every song I played. And he told me, and Sean supporting us from, letting us borrow speakers for the first block party to, growing into a 2-day party here. And even Amir and Questlove, I mean,
didn't you see him DJ early on, and that had a big effect on you? Or
I think he just kind of embodied the Philly scene in hip hop, and he always showed love to us, even when kind of like the Black Lily scene, the neo soul scene, kind of hated Holotronics and what we kind of were, and we were like this trashy thing, But I think Questlove really supported Plastic Little and Spank Rock early, which are two bands who were very, very influential to me. They were like part of this kind of upcoming scene with Holotronics, and Spank Rock as well toured with him, and he's still a legend. He's still like a very innovative guy. Before what happened the last 10 years in hip hop, he was one of the first guys to come out here with a really like insane appeal, style, energy.
Right, Spank and Blank.
Yeah, Spank and Blank, of course, Amanda Blank.
Yeah.
So these all kids that were just not, they're part of our scene. We all came up together making music.
And Questlove has the open mind.
Yeah, and
from the
Questlove
hip-hop
actually
world.
liked us.
Right.
He liked Plastic Little, at least not me that much, but then he liked Spank Rock and supported them and showed them love, especially on the OK Player message board. That was important to get some validation there. And we had Holotronics message board here in Philly, which was like, became a really international presence. Like our internet presence, which was a bunch of young kids here in Philly that talked about the parties and the songs we played. It grew to like kids in Australia, and I still see kids like in Stockholm that are like, I knew you from that message board. And it was so weird that we had this like internet culture that was here in Philly too with that party.
Right, just as the internet's sort of coming of age there. Yeah.
It kind of like happened, and now it's, you can find the old board and find these threads, and kids were making demos and sending music to us on that thing, and it was the advent of the Mad Decent label, and of course Fool's Gold, and all these labels kind of coming up at the same time. It was a young scene that exploded, and we were just part of it as Holotronics. And I think Philly was really inspirational because it was very DIY. The whole city was DIY, and it's been that way, and it kind of helped me to have the courage to do what we did with the party and the label.
Right, and then continue that like DIY ethos as you go on to bigger things.
Because I think if you can learn how to survive and make music and be a creative person in Philly, you can probably do it anywhere because it's so tough, just to make a living.
There's not that much industry.
There's not. I mean, you can get a job. I tried doing jobs. I just was bad at them. I couldn't just keep one.
Right. So you had to get your hustle on.
I did. Yeah. I think music was, at least I was finding these kind of crevices and things that people weren't doing. I don't think I was ever that great at the music I was making, but I kept finding things that people weren't doing, and like just doing them, and trying to do my best at taking up that space.
Right, and getting better as you got along.
Exactly. You're kind of faking it till you make it.
What's the story about you reselling stuff to a young Kanye West?
There's a mixtape I used to do with my friend Tony Larson, who's another DJ named Triple Double, who we made a mixtape together before Holotronics called AEIOU, and we used to collect. We'd go to New Jersey or we'd go to estate sales, go through North Philly and find, flea markets, and go through people's basements and buy records, and we would make mixtapes. I remember I would buy records and resell them, and I'd sell them privately to Kanye when he was younger, and Questlove I think bought records from me, and Kanye was here because he did the Beat Society, which is a party they had in Philadelphia at the 5 spot. I was one of the guys that came, and I would help pick a record out, and every producer there you have to use that record and make a beat out of the sample I got.
Okay.
And Kanye was one of the producers once, but his biggest record at the time was a Trina song, Be Right, or I forget the name of it, with a string sample. And he ended up using that beat for a Mobb Deep record.
Really?
And I remember like, oh wow, you can I can still do this, I can sell these beats or whatever.
Yeah.
And I remember that he did a shout out for me on my mixtape, and it was like he came to my house and had bought records. He was living in New Jersey at the time, and he said on the mixtape, Diplo's got the most old records I've ever seen in my life. And I don't think he's even looked at my records, but he just did that drop for me, and it was kind of cool. I got him before he was Kanye, but
right.
I've known him since then, since like 10 years. He still doesn't recognize me when I see him at
right?
parties. Yeah, but I've known him for a while.
So when Holotronics started happening, did you know what you were doing?
I have no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
And we used to rent the place, the Yuki venue.
It's the Ukrainian club on what street? It's in North Philly.
It was like 11th. Well, it was like 9th and north, 2 blocks north of Girard. But it's like the big golden dome. You can't miss it.
Yeah.
In fact, our first shirt we made was like this screen print of the Bad Brains cover where lightning came down and hit the Ukrainian club. It was a little bit no one understood it, but it was really, I thought it was really cool. So we pretended we were Ukrainian and just got a membership of this place. But we had to like be there to like clean it up and stuff sometimes. We'd rent this place out and they wouldn't, they were like, no one was ever going there. So we would just bring like 200 kids to party and they were like, well, we're selling a lot of beer. We don't care, whatever's happening. And the cops really wouldn't go up there and bother anybody either. It was a little bit, out of their jurisdiction. They were just like saw cars parked. They didn't really bother us. So that was like our home. And we barely broke even every party. We might made like $300. We were like, yo, this is crazy. And but it was like a thing we did every month or every 2-3 months. And we made flyers for it and we would pass them out at Space 1026. And those, also Space 1026, those guys were also very supportive and helped us with our artwork. And I think the first Fridays we'd pass out flyers to everybody walking up and down 2nd Street. So we would just try to use like kind of the underground, the art scene to kind of build up this party. My heroes back then as a producer was RJD2 and DJ Shadow, who RJ had just moved to Philly and we hung out a lot. And DJ Shadow, who I just, and people like DJ Premier and people who put samples together in a unique way. And I was fascinated by the ideas of sampling music and creating something out of it.
Right.
In like a scientific way. I thought there was something beyond a band that was hip hop, in my opinion, as like, that was kind of me as a college student.
Right, and they almost work like, cinematically, like film scores.
A funny thing about the economics of the block party is that last night we played in Chicago and Ray Shrummer played as well. And Ray Shrummer is quite expensive because their album just came out Friday, which is a great album. And I'm trading them a show. So they played Chicago for me and I'm playing in Tupelo with them in December.
Really?
So everything I do, even for the block party, is always like making deals and brokering.
So that's how you get expensive acts.
It is.
Sometimes.
It's very, now touring is so expensive. DJs cost a lot of money.
Right.
Rappers cost extremely a lot of money.
And how about live bands? Or live bands?
Live bands actually don't cost as much.
Really?
Funny enough, which is crazy because Kesha played as well. She played with a full live band. And she cost.
In Chicago.
Yeah, and her production was less than, her fee was less than Ray Shrummer, and the DJs who just have touring with 3 people.
So all right, so let's talk about the growth of that from then to becoming this like huge touring enterprise that is now. How did that happen?
So it grew from Philly to do New York, did Chicago, and that all those years we never made any money, just breaking even or having sponsors help us pay for it. Then I think the 4th year we decided to move to the West Coast, do LA, do Berkeley. I think it's on its 7th year now, or 8th year this year. We moved to 24 cities last year, and this year we actually shrunk down to 20 cities, but did 2 days some places like New York.
Right.
And then we moved it to India. Actually, we did one in South Africa 3-4 years ago, which was awesome. We did Johannesburg and Cape Town, and then we just started doing it in India like the last 2 years, which has been insane.
Right. Really.
Like really, really big, really crazy.
In what city?
We did the last 2 years we did it in Mumbai, Delhi, and Bangalore. So.
Wow. So that's expensive to tour like that, though.
Well, in India, actually touring there is becoming quite popular because while we have 300 million people in America roughly, there's like 300 million just kids in India that are between 18 and 24.
It's a large market.
Yeah, so the market's just changing, and I think EDM and rave music went there in a full blast, and now these kids are so acclimated to downloading music and listening to music, and they're very sophisticated in what they like. So
right. Like, do you miss the time when people bought music, or does it not matter?
It doesn't matter at all. I mean, kids are going to change, and the way people digest music is going to change. The one thing that's never changed is that, as technology goes forward, it never benefits the artists. It always benefits the fans and people who listen to music, and it should. It makes it easier for them. So, if you sit back and complain about they're not paying me enough for this or streaming, it's not about you. It's really about the people that are listening to the music, right?
Right.
So you got to work with that, not against it. So, because water, music is like water. Like it's gonna flow anywhere it can go. Like it's gonna just go into the crevices. You can't control where it goes. You have to kind of like work with it to push it, and flow with it. You can't just kind of say, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do this. In control, because the industry is going to go on its own.
So streaming and the digital age allow the free flow to happen.
I feel like it gave a lot of freedom to any artist to be on the same level with each other. So while Major Lazer became the most streamed record of the last couple of years and of all time at this point, we had to compete with all the big pop records. But kids could just click on our record and find it and listen to it. They didn't have to go and buy it. They don't have to. It's not hammered into them in a marketing team,
Right.
And also people like young producers on SoundCloud, they can find their audience just like that. Like an artist like Marshmello who, played the last 2 block parties. He only has 1 song, and he's like, kids are out there with Marshmello hats on in the audience, like 600 kids like that, with they're huge fans of him because they found him through his SoundCloud and
Right.
his Spotify. He doesn't have any videos and release. He doesn't have a big marketing plan. It's just music that just the kids can react to.
Why are you and Skrillex such a good fit? How did that turn out to be so?
I think when I moved to LA, he was the first producer that I met that I kind of was a fan of, that I understood. And as well, he's been doing music. He's almost 10 years younger than me, but he's been in the music industry for the same amount of time when he was in a punk band as a kid. But I only started making music really seriously at like 24. Here
You are 37?
37 now.
Right.
So, that's actually kind of old for what you have here now with the DJs and electronic musicians. They started like 16, 17.
Right.
So I actually started making music pretty later, but I moved to LA and he was one of the guys who I really was listening to, like, wow, this guy has something really special. He does.
And what was that?
It just the nature of the sounds that he creates. He's able to manipulate sound in a really kind of like a genius way. He has a different way to hear things, and we just got together and we just both traded ideas, and we really appreciated it. And I think we were both kind of renegade in this sort of dance music scene. We both wanted to do something separate from that, so we did that with the Jack U album.
Now, how about the EDM scene and the EDM culture?
Yeah.
Do you feel a part of that? I know you annoyed some people with some things you said.
Yeah. I don't think that, I think I'm part of it just because my music's played there, or I make music that sounds like this, but I've always just been a musician kind of just to create whatever I can create. I've never really spent time thinking about this is this or this is that. I've been influenced by a lot of EDM things. I mean, Skrillex kind of came from that world.
Totally.
And Flume, and there's like so many great artists that came out of it. I think the whole EDM scene in general is sort of cheesy. It's like it was kind of created to sell hard tickets at a festival or to market music that was supposed to be the next big thing that never was the next big thing. That's always, the next big thing is that thing, and it never happens. So for me, I'm just, some of these guys are great that are part of it and make good music, but for the most part, you already see it's in a decline. I see it in Las Vegas. I see it.
Because the crowds are getting smaller, or like, how do you see that? Like, how's that bear out?
I mean, sometimes it's the ticket sales, or it could just be the music. There hasn't been a dance song on the radio except Calvin Harris and Rihanna, this whole year. So I think people are moved on. They moved on to hip hop again,
Right.
And which is cool. I've always advocated to every artist that I sign or whoever I give advice to is that you should always be an artist for yourself first. Like, do what you want to do. Never had to adhere to this genre or whatever. Right. Like, there was a young DJ that played me his demos that were kind of cool. They were different than what he made, but he's like, I can't release this because all my fans expect this. I'm like, man, that's the worst attitude ever. Like, what if David Bowie thought that?
Right.
He always was the guy who was changing the game. He's always the guy who decided to do something against the grain and always made records that were, forward thinking and ahead of the time. That's what any artist should pursue. It's to just try to be like one step ahead, not how can I assimilate easily.
When you're making stuff for yourself, or for Major Lazer, or for Jack U, or a Diplo song, like, how does that typically differ than working with, say, Beyonce? Like with Hold Up, how did that?
Those were all Major Lazer songs.
They were?
Everything I gave to Beyonce. So she's the only person I probably would give songs to that were my Major Lazer songs because she's Beyonce. So,
meaning what?
Just that
she's awesome, or
also she's not gonna mess it up. So many times I give a great song to somebody and they mess it up. Like the marketing will be wrong, or they'll do this. Whatever it is. But I just knew Beyonce was going to be in charge of her whole project, so I knew that I was happy to give her those records.
Right.
And it made more sense for her when I gave her Hold Up and then All Night. We changed the lyrics for it, and then I never heard the songs at all till like a week before when they were mastering them. And I went there to mastering, and then I heard her album, and I realized it was a concept album, and those songs fit perfect, way better than they fit our album. So.
But you had no idea what the concept was or anything when you gave them to her.
I didn't.
And that was. The Hold Up song is written originally with Ezra Koenig, right, from Vampire Weekend, who also had a song on a previous
Major Lazer's album.
So those come from those same sessions?
Me and Ezra have known each other for a while from the New York scene and maybe from, when he came here and do shows. But I share a studio with Ariel Rekscheid, who also produces Vampire Weekend and Haim. And I love him and I love everything he works on. So I'm always trying to sneak in his room and hear what he's doing. So I might have snuck in and hung out with Ezra a few times. And then Ezra's also a huge reggae fan. Ezra actually performed with Major Lazer like 3 years ago and played that song. And he was so nervous and he was like dressed in his polo outfit and his little Columbia University thing. And he was like, I don't know if I can do this. I'm nervous. I'm like, go out there. And he came out there and it was our finale and he spotlight on him. And he's this little white Jewish kid in the middle of Kingston, and he just started singing the falsetto, and people were like screaming, like going crazy for him. So it was just an awesome moment. The only time we ever did that song live too was in Jamaica.
But all right, so you do that song together yourselves, and then you just for instance, there's a sample of "Can't Get Used to Losing You."
There's Andy Williams.
Andy Williams song. And then what's the other one?
The Yeah Yeah
Yeahs. Oh, and the Yeah Yeah Yeahs. Yeah. So were both those pieces in there before you gave it to her?
No, that's what we did. We created that kind of pastiche. That's a very Hollertronic song, I guess. We had an old 50s sample. We had an indie rock band sample. Ezra changing the lyrics. We actually put some more drums on it. She kind of took everything out besides the 808. And I thought it was a weird song. I thought it was cool to do all that stuff in one record.
Right. And when you get it to her, does it have a vocal on it? Does it have Ezra's vocal on it?
It has Ezra, and we did verses, but she changed all the verses.
So right. And you don't hear it until
the end, till right before it's done.
Right. And then do you watch the video on HBO just everybody else?
That's how I heard the final mix was on that HBO special.
She's walking around smashing windows
and I was
with her.
Super excited. Yeah, I loved it.
I bet you did.
It was super cool.
Yeah. So, do you have a wish list of people you'd like to work with? Is there anybody out there?
Nah, not really.
No?
I mean, everything has been so spontaneous that
That's the way you want to keep it.
I think so.
Yeah.
I'll be happy to find someone here that might, whatever the new voice is. When you have chemistry with somebody and it just feels right.
Right.
And you have something special. If you plan it too much, you can't chase that, I feel like.
So when you find those people, you go back to them.
Well, Mo especially, I just write with her so well. We sit in the room, we write, and I guess there's something special about having English as your second language. It makes her words so much more colorful in a way. Because it's weird. I keep thinking in LA right now, they keep writing the songs are written over and over again, the same lyrics even,
right?
The same concepts. And with Mo, it's always something about this purple sky and all this. It's very colorful the way her images are.
In general, the tension of being big, being successful, being mainstream, and still maintaining your edge or cool or finding interesting stuff. You don't really have to think about it. You just have to follow your instincts. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, you have to. You have now. Block Party is a team of people. It's a team of 12 people that work year round to develop it. I'm questionably cool even, it's I'm 30, almost 38 years old. I'm still producing music that I love, but it's also time for a young generation to come out and make music. And I want to help find those kids and put them on and step up for the next people to do it too.